In 1898, a book was published that would go largely unnoticed at the time, but after the events of April 1912, it would take on a chilling significance. The novel, Futility, or The Wreck of the Titan, written by Morgan Robertson, eerily predicted the tragic sinking of the Titanic, 14 years before the actual disaster. The similarities between the fictional ship Titan and the real-life Titanic have baffled historians, writers, and conspiracy theorists for more than a century. In today's video, we will delve deep into the strange and prophetic parallels between Robertson's novel and the infamous sinking of the Titanic. How could one writer so accurately foresee a disaster of this magnitude? Could it be an extraordinary coincidence, or something more? Stay with us as we uncover the eerie details of the Titan and Titanic disaster, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more fascinating insights into history's greatest mysteries. The Premonition, the novel Futility and its story. The year was 1898 when Futility was published. At the time, it was a maritime adventure novel, focused on a colossal, fictional ocean liner called the Titan. The Titan was the largest and most luxurious ship ever built, designed to carry the wealthiest individuals across the Atlantic with an air of invincibility. It was, like the Titanic would later be, regarded as unsinkable. In Futility, the Titan set sail on its maiden voyage across the North Atlantic. On a bitterly cold night, the ship struck an iceberg and, tragically, sank. Many passengers lost their lives, largely because the ship lacked an adequate number of lifeboats, another eerie similarity with the real-life Titanic. At the time, the novel was considered a work of fiction, and no one could have imagined that just over a decade later, a near-identical scenario would play out in real life, ending in one of history's most devastating maritime disasters. The chilling similarities between the Titan and the Titanic. The most startling aspect of Robertson's novel is how closely the fictional events mirror what would later happen to the Titanic. Let's examine the almost unbelievable parallels between the two ships. Names: the Titan and the Titanic. The names themselves are strikingly similar, evoking images of enormous, majestic vessels designed to conquer the seas. Size: Robertson's Titan was described as the largest ship ever built, measuring 800 feet long and weighing 75,000 tons. The real Titanic was similarly described as a massive, luxurious liner, measuring 882 feet and weighing 46,000 tons. Both were built with the same objective, to be the grandest vessels on the ocean. Unsinkable. Both ships were considered unsinkable by the public and shipbuilders alike. The Titan was advertised as practically unsinkable, while the Titanic was also viewed as impervious to the dangers of the sea. Iceberg collision. In the novel, the Titan collides with an iceberg in the North Atlantic, just as the Titanic did. The collisions in both cases occurred during the month of April. Speed. The Titan was racing through the Atlantic at 25 knots when it struck the iceberg. The Titanic was sailing at around 22.5 knots when it hit the iceberg, both ships moving at dangerously high speeds for icy waters. Lifeboat shortage. One of the most haunting similarities is the shortage of lifeboats. In both the novel and real life, the ships were inadequately prepared for disaster, with not nearly enough lifeboats to accommodate all passengers. In the novel, this failure leads to the death of many passengers, a tragic reality also faced on the Titanic. Passenger demographics. Both ships were filled with society's elite. The Titan carried the wealthiest and most prominent individuals of its time, while the Titanic famously carried the world's rich and powerful, such as John Jacob Astor and Benjamin Guggenheim. These similarities are so precise that many have speculated whether Robertson had some sort of supernatural insight or knowledge of future events. Could this really be a coincidence? Morgan Robertson, prophet or coincidence? Who was Morgan Robertson, and how could he have foreseen this disaster in such remarkable detail? Robertson was a skilled writer and a former seaman. He had a deep understanding of maritime technology and the dangers of sea travel, which may have influenced his novel. But even with that knowledge, how could he predict something as specific as the Titanic disaster? Robertson dismissed the idea that his novel was prophetic, but some people weren't so sure. He claimed that he simply had a good understanding of the risks involved in oceanic voyages, and that he crafted a story based on what could realistically happen if a ship were built too large, sailed too fast, and carried too few lifeboats. However, some have speculated that Robertson may have experienced moments of clairvoyance or premonition. He himself once hinted at having prophetic dreams, although he never publicly admitted to any supernatural foresight. The real tragedy: the sinking of the Titanic. On April 15, 1912, the unthinkable happened. the Titanic struck an iceberg in the North Atlantic and sank, claiming the lives of over 1,500 people. The disaster sent shockwaves around the world, and many began to draw eerie comparisons to Morgan Robertson's novel. The world was captivated by the similarities between Futility and the real-life event. How could a writer so accurately describe the sinking of a ship that had not even been designed when he wrote his novel? In the aftermath, Futility was republished, with a new subtitle, The Wreck of the Titan. The novel gained a cult following as readers tried to make sense of how fiction had so closely mirrored reality. Could this happen again? The question remains, was Robertson's novel a one-off coincidence, or can fiction really predict the future? Throughout history, we've seen moments where life imitates art, but the case of Futility and the Titanic is perhaps the most chilling example. Could it be that Robertson's deep knowledge of maritime technology allowed him to foresee the dangers of overconfidence in engineering? Or was there something more mysterious at play, an inexplicable connection between the imagination of a writer and the course of future events? Even today, scholars, writers, and historians debate the meaning behind Futility. The story has fascinated conspiracy theorists and paranormal enthusiasts for over a century, and it shows no signs of fading from public consciousness. The power of fiction and the mystery of fate. In the end, the tale of Futility and the Titanic leaves us with more questions than answers. Was it an extraordinary coincidence, or does it speak to something deeper about the way stories and reality intersect? Whether you believe Robertson had a prophetic gift or was just incredibly observant, one thing is clear. Futility remains a haunting reminder of how fiction can sometimes uncannily mirror the future. And it begs the question, what other predictions might be hidden in the novels we read today? If you found this video intriguing, be sure to hit the like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for more fascinating stories that blur the lines between fact and fiction. Thank you for watching, and until next time, keep questioning the mysteries of the past.